Last hour or so had some breaking news. It would appear that the Russian government hackers have penetrated the DNC. Now, I want to speak with Shawn Tuma. You are a cyber data security attorney. You are an expert on such things. Shawn, appreciate you being here. And so, first of all, it looks like this is a pretty complicated story. Do we know if this was the actual Russian government that was penetrating the DNC? And I know they were going after specifically Donald Trump, but was this was this the actual Russian government, or was this maybe a group that was acting on behalf of the government, but the government isn't necessarily officially tied to this group? Who are these people?
Well, what we know at this point, or what we think, is what's being relayed by CrowdStrike, the company that's doing the investigation for the DNC, and they have said that it appears to be two organizations that work on behalf of agencies of the Russian government, but apparently not directly. So there's some cover there.
Interesting. Okay, so they're looking for info on Donald Trump. Are they looking for information on Donald Trump so that they can, if he becomes president, they can use against him? Like we know that there's been some suspicions of that in the past. Or are they simply trying to get to know Donald Trump because they already know Hillary Clinton? The Russians have dealt with Hillary before to not so great results. But my question would be this. What are they trying to find out about Donald Trump? Because they essentially stole the DNC's playbook on Donald Trump, right?
Right. And I think the answer would be all of the above. Obviously, if they can find information that would be used for blackmail or extortion type opportunities, they would certainly use that if they saw the need. But I think also the other point you made is that they're trying to get to know the guy. This is his first time running for public office, and he doesn't have the history that a lot of other politicians have, so they're trying to learn more about him and how he operates, what he has, what he does, things of that nature.
I guess part of my question, and this always stuns me whenever we see these things, whether it's our own government or here the DNC, how is it possible that the Russians are able to hack into the DNC? Are they, a couple of different questions here. How do we know what the DNC has done to prevent this from happening? That's one. And two, is there any reason to think that because the DNC was hacked into by the Russians, is that indicative of the fact that, oh, they're soft on cybersecurity? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sure, and I think, there's a couple of questions in there, and the first is they're probably no more soft on cybersecurity than most other organizations are. But then the second is when you are operating at a level of this height and heightened information and intelligence, you should expect that the Russians, the Iranians, the Chinese are actively attacking you and are trying to get in. So you should have a higher level of security from the beginning.
Well,
to anticipate this.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I always have this argument with myself, which I do often, is who should I be mad at? Should I be mad at the Russians or should I be mad at us, or in this case, the DNC? Because they're doing what they're doing. We're expecting to get hacked. So I guess we are to blame for being hacked, and shame on us if we're not hacking other nations, right?
Well, sure. I mean, the Russians are doing their jobs. And we have our own intelligence agencies that are doing the same exact thing to other governments, trying to get similar information from other governments and organizations for our national security interests. So they're doing their job. The way it typically works is even in the private sector, people get mad at the companies that get hacked. As ironic as that sounds, they're the victim of an attack, but then people get mad at them for being in a position to get hacked.
Okay, so then here's my question. A couple things. One, according to the story, and I got this from the Washington Post, the DNC is saying that no financial, donor, or personal information appears to have been accessed or taken. They didn't even know they were hacked, and so how can we possibly believe them when they say, well, no donor information was taken? Can we believe the DNC when they say that?
Yes, partially. And the way this works is they have security team in there that is doing the investigation, and they will monitor log files, and they will look at telltale signs in the network to see where these activities have gone. And at this point, they may be able to say nothing has shown us that this other kind of information has been taken, but that doesn't mean later on they might not discover something else that says, aha, we missed this, now we see it, now yes, there was. But the bigger issue is these are professional spies who are doing government-related espionage. They're not usually out seeking that kind of information that criminals would then take to try and monetize on the black market. These people are trying to keep a very narrow footprint, go undetected, and stay where they're at without being seen.
Okay, so my next question would be, if this is the Russian government and groups affiliated with the government, but sort of been out, really whatever. However, when you see that the DNC has been hacked by the Russian government, that means that they could also be hacked by some criminal hackers who could take all of those, say, for example, credit cards and donor information, right? I mean, if one group can hack you, another group can hack you. I mean, we have Anonymous that's always out there hacking anybody. So it's not necessarily, I guess, if you're hacked by one group, does that mean that you can pretty much be hacked by not anybody, but it means that you have left yourself vulnerable to hacking no matter who is doing the hacking?
Sure. The first thing to recognize is everybody, every group, every government is susceptible to this, and it's a risk they all face. In something like this, you know, would your ordinarily criminal gang type organized crime hackers have the skill of the Russian agents? Maybe not, but it's not mutually exclusive. You know, there can be the Russians in there. There could be other nation states. There could be criminal elements as well.
Are we just as good at hacking other nations as they are at getting into either our government or, say, for example, today's story, the DNC? Are we just as good as others?
I think we are, maybe better.
Oh, look at that. How about our defenses?
Our defenses are probably as good as any others, and I would hope better as well, but I don't know that for a fact, but I think so.
How much do we invest in cybersecurity? How much do we invest in defense? Just as a nation as a whole, because, and we can go and expand this into the government. This was the DNC, but essentially the federal government, for example. We know that we've been hacked by China. We know that we've been hacked by Russia. I believe we've been hacked by North Korea. I'd have to Google that. I can't. Maybe you can fill me in on that. But my question would be this: how much are we as a federal government investing in cybersecurity, and is it enough?
I don't know the number, but I do know it's not enough. Cybersecurity is really just coming online, is the latest, the biggest tool and threat, and certainly in the espionage realm. And I don't think we have either allocated enough funds and resources, or we don't have enough talent of people in cybersecurity that can get out and help protect us the way we really need it. And the bad thing is when we get there, the bad guys will be, finding new avenues of attack anyway.
Well, and that's the interesting part about cyber hacking, right? Is that pretty much all of the nations are always on defense because the technology is constantly changing, right?
Right. Yeah, it's constantly changing. So whatever we're guarding against today that we've known about, the bad guys are already thinking about the next angle. They're like Sun Tzu said, always be like the water and change your shape to fit the environment. When defenses start protecting on one area, they attack from another. And that's the nature of how this threat works.
All right, Shawn Tuma, thank you very much. You have a great afternoon. Shawn Tuma is a cybersecurity expert who specializes in cyber and data security law. Really interesting.